So welcome everyone, my name's Ben. I'm the Creative Pathways producer for Lookout. And Lookout is an organisation which is based in Brighton and Hove, which helps young people to unleash their potential, increase their self-esteem and to build resilience through arts experiences, hands-on workshops and one-to-one mentoring. And part of that we do is these industry talks, which is kind of inviting people within our sort of arts industry network to listen and to have a kind of conversation about their experiences within the arts. So welcoming today Sam Evans, who is a production manager. I won't introduce you too much, Sam, I'll let you do all the talking. But yeah, so let's get going. So can you tell us a bit about your job, what you do and how you would describe yourself?
So my main job is I'm the head of production at Shoreditch Town Hall, which is a multidisciplinary arts, cultural events venue in Shoreditch in East London. We're based in a town hall that's converted into we used to be a town hall, now is like a multi-roomed old town hall with like loads of different spaces and locations to put on work, as well as doing sort of arts and programming. We also have an event side of the business, so we'll do conferences, weddings, meetings, and recently we've started doing a lot of sort of online meetings, hosting from around the world, really, to dialing into here through the pandemic, which has been quite interesting. So my main role within Shoreditch Town Hall is, as head of production, is to be responsible for all the technical and production elements within the building. So responsible for a team of technicians who work with me to put on events around the whole building. We've got 12 areas where you can do work, where you potential to create work. So quite a busy building when we're in normal times, getting back into there now. So I'm responsible for employing lighting designers, lighting technicians, sound engineers, sound technicians, carpenters. We do a range of in-house productions, collaborating with other artists. So there's always lots of various roles that we need filled with technical background. One of the main parts of my job, which is well, very important, is I'm responsible for the health and safety, along with the building manager for the whole building. So writing risk assessments, ensuring everything in the building is safe, making sure that all of our, sort of regular checks are done on all our equipment, just keeping everyone safe and making sure everything's ticking over, which is also really important because you just make sure that all of our kit is working properly and well maintained and can be used for a long time. Yeah, so that's my Shoreditch.
That's great. That's really good to hear, and kind of that like well-rounded explanation of kind of what you do and the sort of like day-to-day tasks that are involved with that. I think what would be really great to know is that how did you kind of end up doing what you do now? Kind of what was your sort of like, career and professional journey?
Well, shall I start from the beginning? So like I went to school and did my A-levels and I did drama, and I was going to go to university to be a teacher, and my drama teacher said to me, why don't I try and do drama? So I went to her old university for an audition at Middlesex, which was then based in a stately home in North London. It's now moved to Hendon, but when I was there, it was like a big old stately home that was sort of converted into workshops and theatres and things. So I did my audition there, and then spent my first year thinking, oh, maybe I'll be an actor, and then at the end of my first year, we were given the option of a technical discipline to follow, as well as doing a bit of acting, to kind of give yourself a bit of a rounded experience. And I just absolutely loved doing stage management, and I really loved sort of being involved in creating theatre and sort of being real part of the process of making work, and even at like sort of undergrad level, getting that sort of experience was really, I was really fortunate to be able to go to university and do that and sort of explore different theatre forms and different roles within the production team. And then in my final year, I was doing a project that the technician was working on, and he said, would you like to come work on a show with me when you graduate? It's for 2 or 3 weeks. It was an installation, part live performance at a disused theatre in Alexandra Palace, North London. And it was pretty incredible. And it was like, wow, this is what I want to do. Yeah, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before, nothing I'd experienced before. And since then, I've sort of developed relationships with people I met there. And I still work with people I met on that first day today, sort of 16, 17 years later. So yeah, I think I've been really lucky. And then I did a lot of, for the first sort of 10 years of my career, I was a freelance stage manager, technician, technical stage manager, different roles within a technical team, doing a lot of touring around the UK. Never really did any work in a venue. And then I decided that I'd like to try working in a venue, try a bit of regular working hours, he says. Regular working hours for a bit. I started working at Oval House Theatre, which is now Brixton House Theatre, which is they've just moved to Brixton. It's reopening pretty soon, actually, next couple of weeks. And then in 2018, I got the opportunity to work in this amazing building, which is incredible. It's a Grade 2 listed old townhouse, so it's not a traditional theatre, which is great because that's not really interesting me. What interests me is working in sort of different spaces and doing different things rather than just sort of your sort of traditional black box or proscenium arch theatre. So it really gives me an opportunity to still do different styles and forms of theatre, but in one building, which is great. And I love it here.
That's really cool. That's really, really great to hear. And you mentioned a bit about, the kind of people that you sort of met near the beginning of your career and how you've continued to sort of work with them, and, they're part of your sort of wider kind of network. Was there anybody that you would say kind of growing up that maybe influenced you or made you kind of want to sort of work within theatre and performance, even kind of that primary idea, which is usually the way, isn't it, of wanting to sort of be an actor? Was there anyone that influenced you to within this, where you are now, basically?
I wouldn't say when I was young I had favorite footballers, really. I wanted to be, I wouldn't say I had a favorite production manager when I was young. I think when I was doing my AS levels, I wrote to my local theatre in Wolverhampton, the Grand Theatre, and just said, could I come and do some shadowing? And they had a rep company in for sort of most of the summer, and they said, yeah, sure, come down. And I went and did work experience with them while shadowing for a week with their team and worked with their stage manager. And that was when I was 16, 17, maybe, that sort of AS to A2 level, I think it was, or it was then. And I sort of thought, maybe, this is quite interesting. And then I felt, when I went to university, a lot of the skills I'd learned in that week were that's how you mark up a stage, and that's that terminology. So maybe it sort of stuck in my mind then, sort of 2 years prior. I was thinking, okay, maybe it's stuck in my mind for a reason, and the reason is I kind of love it. So I think going to university, there were obviously, I had technicians, technical tutors who I really got on with, who kind of were quite really interesting careers outside of the university. So you sort of speak to them about their professional work. And then I think the people who inspire me most are the people I've worked with over the years. So Louise Blackwell from when we knew her when she worked at Fuel, and now she's an independent creative work. I work a lot with Theme and Sleep. So David and Sam at Theme and Sleep are incredible artists and make really great work. And my career has grown from a technician with them, and now I'm their associate, Fever Sleeps associate production manager, which is sort of kind of like, yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. And I think it all starts with making connections and relationships with people, and being able to talk to people is really useful, and being able to get on with people, I think, and working with nice people is always really important, because when you work in this industry, you spend, I mean, I can spend 12, 13 hours a day at work. So I think if you are working with people who you would go into battle with, and you would, you enjoy working with, then you sort of enjoy your work more, and that's what's good. So I think making relationships with people you work with is really good, and sort of yeah. A lot of my work has come through sort of networking and word of mouth. I'm not necessarily, I was really lucky that I went and got a degree, but that's not to say that there aren't other pathways to getting into this role. I think of some of the people I work with who didn't go to university, who sort of did what I did, wrote to their local theatre, and sort of got involved that way when they were young, and then just started doing the odd shift here and there. And I work with a couple of people now who've done that, and they're great. It's a different. Everyone's got different experiences, but I think what's really important is to make sure that I've always tried to make sure that I'm working with people who I enjoy working with, and who I can get on with. If I can have a good conversation with people, and I can have a laugh and share the same interests with outside of work, I think working with them becomes easier as well. So sort of being open to meeting new people is really important as well when you're sort of looking to get into this industry.
Yeah, and you've read my mind here, because I think there's also, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about the importance of networks and the importance of kind of like connecting with people. I think particularly when you're like freelancing within the arts. What would you say are kind of like your like top tips for like networking or like meeting people? Like how do you sort of approach it?
I think it's important to be open, and to be sort of willing to listen to others. I think going into a rehearsal room for the first day, or meeting a new load of people for the first day in a new job, if you go in there with one idea of what this is and that's how you're going to react, then you're sort of on a high to nothing, really. You need to go, and I've always tried to go to any role I've done, any job I've done, any venue I've worked in, on tour or anything, I've gone in there with like an open mind to see. It's really interesting for me to see how other people work. And obviously traveling, I've done a lot of traveling around the UK in my sort of freelance work, and you sort of meeting people and chatting to people and having good conversations with them, and you learn about how they might do things differently to how you do things, and it's quite nice. That's how you do that. Okay, I'm going to take that on and do that somewhere else. And like, little things I always find quite interesting about working with other people. So I definitely think being open to listen to others, being able to take on board criticism is important, and sort of work, hearing what your faults are, and maybe trying to develop them yourself. I really just think being pleasant is really, really important, because that's, again, like, I really think that if you're going to be spending most of your time with these people, you're away from your friends and your family, working with these people in this theatre environment, you're going to have to be. It's going to be difficult, and like, I think if you are lucky enough to work with people who are nice, and you can be nice, and you will get on, it's great. And it's such a great atmosphere when everything's sort of gelling, even when it's high pressured. That the person next to you can rely on to do their job, and you can do your job. And like, it's quite a special thing when all the different elements of production side of the industry come together to make the production for the audience. So yeah, that's maybe a bit long-winded, but that's what.
No, that's great. I think there's like some fundamental things in there, like, I guess when you're like just meeting people in a professional setting, you've just, yeah, I think that point of like, you've just got to be kind and a nice person and like yourself. And because, yeah, it's like meeting someone professionally is just the same as it is personally, isn't it? It's just coming from like a slightly different lens. So yeah, I think that's, yeah, that's really important. The next thing I wanted to ask you is more just like a kind of a practical question, I guess. Like how, like as a kind of freelancer, how do you earn a living from what you do and who pays you?
Um, so it varies from person to person, I'd say. Some people quite enjoy sort of working in different venues uh, around town, London town, for example. Well, it's a city, but you know. And they would sort of go venue to venue, doing like one day here, one day there, which is one way to earn money, and you work for different venues. But the way I did it when I was a freelancer was I would tend to work on a production with a company for a period of time. So I would get, you know, a 3 or 4 month contract with Fevered Sleep to go and do rehearsals and then tour one of their shows around the UK. And you sort of have to try and then fit in other bits of work after that. So sort of midway through the tour, you're thinking, okay, I'm having a great time on tour. The tour's going really well. I need to just think about what's coming up next. And I was really fortunate that I had a good relationship with Fuel Theatre, who I also worked for quite a lot. And somehow they always seemed to like just about jigsaw together so that I could do a Fevered Sleep tour, then a Fuel tour. You know, occasionally there'd be a year where I might work for Fevered Sleep on their own, and that would be just like, you know, I'd still be doing a freelance role, but I would be working for them all year on different various projects. So in that sense, Fevered Sleep would pay me, but I would be like invoicing them for, you know, a couple of times a month or whatever, or rather than being on payroll, you sort of have to go and invoice them to get paid. That's how it worked there anyway. Other places are different. But yeah, usually company to company, I'd get paid by.
Yeah, and those two, like, yeah, those two responses kind of connect to each other, don't they? Because it's like if you build this kind of really great relationship with, you know, an individual or an organization or a company, you know, it's like that's where that like continuation of work kind of happens, doesn't it? And also, I think that's an interesting point of, you know, you usually somehow it all like kind of maps together. But I guess if you've built that relationship with that organization and they can, you know, they know that you can do a good job and they can trust you, there can be a bit of like flexibility, can't there? Like, oh, you know, this is my experience anyway. I can't quite do this day, but I could do this day, and oh, I might have to like jump out then, but I can do this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can be a conversation, can't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of times there was a little bit more of a crossover than I would have liked, sort of like in the middle of a tour. So, you know, there was one occasion where I was in Huddersfield one night. I needed to get to Cardiff overnight and then go back up and do all that sort of thing. But I think I was able to do that because of the team I worked with, and having worked with them, established a relationship over a period of time where they were like, yeah, let's try and make this work. And yeah, on the whole, it worked. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, great. That's cool. And what would you say is the thing that you enjoy most about what you do?
So there's two sort of parts of my career. There's my freelance career, which, although like I really enjoyed all the work I did and the shows I worked on were all amazing, but I got to travel a lot. So I've been to a few places I've been all over the UK, and I've been to like Europe and North Africa. I've been to Sydney. I've been to Taipei, sorry. So yeah, like, I mean, that's incredible. And I all went, you know, I was working, so I didn't have to pay for my flights. So I got to go on a little holiday and do some work. But then, you know, so I saw a lot of stuff that, you know, I didn't really think when I was leaving school. I wasn't one of those people like, oh, I'm going to go on a gap year, do all that sort of thing. I never really was that sort of person. I didn't really think I'd go traveling as such, but you know, because of the career path I went down, I managed to go to see some incredible things, and do some incredible things while working, which was just, you know, I'm really lucky. But now that I'm venue based at Shoreditch, I think it's definitely the sort of variety of stuff we still get. I think one of the things that I was worried about working in a venue permanently was that you'd just be sat doing the same show for weeks on end. So like a West End show, you know, those shows would go on for years and years and years. I was always worried if you get a show and even going on for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'd sort of get a bit like, oh, I want someone else, I want a new challenge. So when you're touring, you're going to different venues, you've got different problems to solve, you've got different people to meet, you've got different load-in doors to push set through, you know. And then, here in Shoreditch Town Hall, it's a town hall, so it's not a regular theatre space. So just today, if we got a show on, which we've got a show on Friday this week, and so today we have had to build a theatre in an old council chamber that used to be used for like council meetings, and we've converted it today into a theatre with a seating bank for 100 people and a truss infrastructure for all of our sound and lighting and projection. You know, we have to do that all from scratch. And there's always different variations on it. It's not always, you know, we'll do the same thing every time. There's always different variations, which keeps things fresh, which is exciting for me, and also keeps me thinking a lot. And you've got to sort of, I really enjoy the sort of problem solving side of the job. I think that's really important to be able to sort of lend yourself to a few different sort of skills, and it certainly does that when you've got to think about different configurations of, you know, seating versus your rigging versus your, you know, where do dressing rooms go, that sort of stuff, because, you know, we have to put all that sort of infrastructure in. So that's the sort of things I enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, from everything that you've said, it sounds so exciting and like so like dynamic. You've done like a ton of different stuff. Also, something I'm just interested in, which yeah, I don't know whether we've like totally cracked this in the arts and creative industries, is like also, you know, like rest and recovery. Like, is there, yeah, you know, when you're like kind of, when it's packed full, like what would you say are your kind of like go-to things to do just to, yeah, like kind of switch off? And do you think that that's like an important thing to do to be able to like sustain a career in the arts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no point in, well, it's really easy to say, there's no point in doing a job if you don't love it, or like, you know, but like, you know, why would you, you know, why are you breaking your back doing something that you're not so, you know, you don't love? But and I do love my job, so I don't mind sort of the long hours, so long as every now and again I can have a bit of a break. And I always try and make sure that, not just for me, but also the people I work with, you know, it's important to have that balance, right? You've got to get the balance. If you don't have the balance, then there's something going wrong. And I think that I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying to be good at it. And I think when I get time off, so weekends, I quite enjoy obviously going to see my friends, that sort of stuff. Going into Wales, doing a bit of camping, really enjoy that. Got into camping quite a lot over lockdown, and all the hotels are shut. Yeah, I'm going to see my brother in Texas in a couple of weeks. So you know, there's lots of different things, and even just walking home, being able to sort of leave work and walk home and know that you've sort of had a really full day, but a good day. You know, I can walk down down the canal and be like, yeah, it's a good day, and I'm going to go home, and just spending time at home actually is quite nice. Yeah, just do all the normal things people like to do. I think it's really important to find that balance. There will be times where it's like flat out. It's like sort of long days and it's busy all day, and you've got 3 people asking you one thing and another 3 people asking you another thing, and you kind of trying to deal with that. But at times there are, like when the show's in, you can sort of breathe and relax for a bit. But that lasts for a couple of days, like I said, and then I'm like, right, next show, come on, I want to see what's next. Yeah, so
Yeah,
find a balance.
yeah. I think it's just an interesting conversation, like what different people do to, yeah, to kind of like, because as you say, it's so important, that balance in anything, isn't it? You know, because if you do as much as, yeah, you might love one thing. If you're doing it 24/7, then it's going to slowly but surely, you know, lose its shine. Um, cool. So what would you say are some of the like important traits that you think are kind of, yeah, what's some of the most important traits that you think is good for people to kind of have, or to you know, try and emphasize maybe to be kind of successful within the creative industries, and maybe specifically within kind of like, yeah, the production sort of world?
I think it comes back to openness again. You've got to be open to people. You've got to be open to people's work, people's ideas. Because quite often you'll be drafted in as a production manager or a production person on someone else's work. So respecting other people's work and respecting other people is really important. I think that I always try and learn all the time. One of the best things I do is I work with some people who are just starting their career, and I work with some people who are like, have been doing the job for sort of 30 years. And there's always stuff to learn off both ends of the scale. With new technologies coming through, I learn so much off of people who've just graduated, or people who just, you know, a lot of people are really interested in projection and the sort of the way that projection works in live art now. And that's something I'm really interested in getting into a bit more. Whereas like the other end of the scale, you've got people who've been doing the jobs for so long, and they sort of know the real sort of nitty gritty tricks of the trade, which are quite useful, you know. I think willingness to learn. I think you need to be dedicated, because it is, like I say, long hours. You're sort of under a lot of pressure quite a lot of the time. But if you sort of are really, if you're dedicated, the rewards are so, you know, I mean, I've been to Sydney twice, and I've been, you know, because I'm sort of committed and dedicated to my work. It sort of that's helped me a lot. And I think that's it. I can't think of anything else right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. I think that's important. And also these like qualities are also just what you need in life, isn't it? You know, just being able to kind of carry on. And, you know, I think a lot of the time they're sort of in us. It's just the way that you're directing it, you know. I think that, yeah. And do you, would you say, do you have any kind of survival like tips and tricks, like within, yeah, to work within the arts? Like, are there things that you know now that you wish you'd known, like when you were starting out right at the beginning, or when you were at school or college?
Well, I know that if you make your own lunch every day, you save a lot of money on food bills. So being able to go home and cook my lunch for the next day is really important. I wish I'd done that more often when I was on tours, rather than going Tesco's sandwich deal every day, you know.
I wish I did that more now.
yeah. I wish I'd done that a lot. I wish I did it more now, actually. So there's that. I don't know. I wish I'd maybe taken more chances when I was at university. Maybe I very much went down one path, and maybe if I tried, you know, looking at things that maybe I wasn't open enough to learn. It sounds weird at university, not open enough to learn, but I was very much, I don't really want to do anything to do with sound, you know, and that sort of, until recently, has been my really weakest area. And I think that the sort of that openness to learn has been there, but like, I think it would have been a bit more there. I would have, and I hadn't been afraid of not knowing, you know. I just didn't know what the sound, these massive sound desks, they just frightened me. I just didn't want to get involved, it was too big. But I think if I just kind of jumped on it and gone, what's all this about then, that might have been, you know, quite beneficial to me. And I think that's it. I think that's everything I can think of at the moment. Right.
Yeah, and that thing of kind of like picking those moments you know, which I guess can be at college or university, but also like later on, you know, in your sort of career, maybe when you're like changing direction, or to be a bit more like experimental and like take risks. And, you know, I think, yeah, that's a really important thing, to really like use those moments to do that, you know, not to be scared of it.
I think I wish I'd seen more work when I was younger. Like I'd gone out and experienced different sort of art forms. There's a lot of stuff that's expensive to go and see, you know, but there's also a lot of free stuff, you know, installations in museums and all that sort of stuff. And even if the installation's not great, you can sort of learn a lot about how, you know, really boring stuff like, oh, look how they've rigged that, that speaker, you know, dull stuff like that, but actually would be quite beneficial to me now. So, but also seeing like different, you know, more dance when I was younger would have probably helped me with some of the things I've worked on recently and over the last 10 years. Yeah, I think I should have maybe jumped into seeing more stuff and taking more of those opportunities as well. Not that I didn't go and see anything, you know, I saw some stuff that really inspired me, but I think I should have just gone and seen more when I was younger.
Yeah, I hear that. And also, you know, that, yeah, like seeing things that maybe aren't even connected to the art, you know, that's what I found. Like sometimes I've just gone to other stuff, and you know, with that, if you have that in your mind, that like, oh, you know, I've gone to this community event or blah blah blah, you know, and then you pick up these things, don't you? Yeah, interesting. All right, I mean, one final question from me is, if there was anything that you wanted people to really take home from sort of watching this recording, what would you say? Yeah, what's the kind of take home message, would you say?
I think that the career I've chosen has afforded me a lot of opportunities and a lot of like a great life experience so far. I think I'm really fortunate to have gone to university, where I don't think I would have, at that time, I don't think I would have followed this career path if I hadn't gone to university. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity. But, you know, it's great to see that now there are a lot of other avenues people can explore to get into, you know, where I am, but to being in working in production. And I think it's great to be part of something that pleases people, like audiences come and they see work that I've helped create, and I think that's really exciting for me. And it's sort of gives me a great buzz to see, you know, even if I haven't watched the show, if I just watching the audience come out at the end and people are chatting about it, whether the show was good or whether the show was bad, it sort of makes people think and makes people talk. And that's a sort of that's good. If people are sort of discussing something that you've been part of, it's quite a good feeling. So you can, yeah, that's what you can do if you work in backstage. It's not all about the performers or the artist. It's the collaborative effort of making theatre that's really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Hey, thanks so much, Sam. That was really great to kind of chat and hear about your experiences. And yeah, I think there's some really great great things to sort of take away from that conversation. Cool. I think we'll probably wrap things up now. But thanks so much, and thanks for everyone watching this. Make sure you follow Lookout on all the social medias and online, so you can see when the next industry talk is. But for now, I'll sign off. All right. Take care, Sam.